welcome back to LinkedIn Logs, the jobs and business news podcast for the website closecom.com. Comedy. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Welcome back in. Here we are after, I don't know, like a week or so off. A week, I think. The animals are eating. It's the end of the workday. It rained for exactly 15 minutes. I took Maverick out at 4, and then it started raining. And I went, great, I'll let them out on the porch. I'll let the kids out on the porch. Balcony, excuse me. Opened up the door. They went outside, and it immediately stopped raining. I was like, wow. I also wanted the cool breeze and everything, but that's fine. Oh, what's going on? Nothing. Let's see. Work is still we're still trucking along. You know, as I sit on my laptop all day, I do things that I would normally do at this computer or on my iPad, which is right in front of me as well. And by do things, I mean I'm just opening up the New York Times. I go to my RSS feed reader. And then today, I started playing New York Times games. Now that's something I would do if I was at an office. I would open up the New York Times games, and I'd play Wordle on there. I'd play the mini and the MIDI crosswords. I'm not going to do a big crossword. Who am I? Galileo? Smartest person I could think of. But there was a moment today when I was playing the MIDI is the crossword that's between the big crossword, the regular crossword, and the mini. As I was playing, I was just like, God, I know they're watching. You know, you know that they send you a computer, they're going to be watching. I know that they're watching. And I hope they're not like, this is truly what I was thinking. I hope they're not judging me for how long I'm taking on the middle size crossword. Because apparently, if you don't do the mini in less than a minute, you're stupid. That's what I heard. But sometimes they could be hard. Any crossword can be hard. I play Spelling Bee a lot. I've been playing Spelling Bee since it came out. And guess who's not good at Spelling Bee? I get to Genius and I feel like smart. And then I was playing Connections. And I got down to my last guess, and I did not get anything right. And I got down to my last guess because I burned 2. And I got my last guess right, and then I got everything, and then everything else started falling into place for me. But I was thinking, God, I hope the IT people they didn't get pinged, and then they're like, "What's he on?" And they're still sitting on New York Times games or New York Times games. Anyway, that's it. That's what I want to talk about. Also, yesterday there was a song came into my head, and then I opened up because this is a nice MacBook Pro. It is the most powerful MacBook Pro from last year, which means it has excellent speakers. I played a song yesterday on YouTube Music because I was like, oh yeah, I remember this song. I can't remember what song it is now. I listen to so much music. Also, I had to call SiriusXM. I was charged last month for like triple the price. I'm usually on top of calling them and saying like, I guess I'm gonna cancel, and then them giving me a discount. But I guess I forgot last month. I guess it was renewed last month or whatever. But then I saw anyway. It doesn't matter. Anyway, they have this new program where you don't have to do that anymore, and they'll just charge you perpetually for $12.98. So yeah, I signed up for that. All right, let's get on with this. So fucking stupid. Let's get on with this news. Okay, so this is all, if you're looking at the show notes, This, you're going to see that it's all about one topic. I want to try something different. This comes from Variety, written by Brian Steinberg. Shake up at 60 Minutes as CBS News ousts executive producer Tanya Simon, correspondents Cecilia Vega, Sharon Alfonsi, taps Nick Bilton to run the news magazine. Ever since Barry Weiss was put in charge of CBS News, that entire the overhaul of that organization has been nothing but chaotic. And that is the only word that I can describe it as. And no one will disagree. Let's do a short recap. Barry Weiss is a fat little cherub. I will get murdered or canceled. Whose claim to fame was being let go from the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, and then she started a Substack called The Free Press. At some point in the last year, David Ellison, who was the owner of Skydance, the son of mega conservative Larry Ellison, also mega conservative himself, David Ellison, used Skydance to purchase Paramount. Paramount Skydance became a company. Skydance is the production company, I guess. I don't know how to categorize it. They purchased Paramount in its entirety. Now Paramount Skydance, which is the parent company of CBS News, they were looking to I don't know what the idea was behind this, but she was hired, Barry Weiss, to they bought the Free Press. Paramount Skydance bought the Free Press for $150 million, and then they took Weiss, who again was let go from the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, and brought in as the head of CBS News. The end. She has been, and if you don't know what the Free Press is, it is a right-leaning rag, conservative rag, that made a lot of money on Substack, and brought in a bunch of people who, from the outside looking in, this is just an outside observation, were a lot like Barry Weiss in that they were strange people who were not good writers, who were also let go from their companies and brought into the Free Press to write. I can say that because I'm a much better writer than all of them. Some of the, a lot of those people don't source things, and they're just wrong. They just post wrong things. It's crazy that, I mean, obviously this is the internet culture of today. So no, I'm not going to say anything. It's just that there are people who are quote unquote influencers who also do the same thing. The problem is, especially with news, is that people don't, when you don't work for, all right, first of all, when you're not a real journalist, and I'm not saying this is just a general thing about influencers. When you're not a real journalist, or people trying to be influencers, so I'll speak very vague. They don't source things, and they don't know how to source things. This is why people go to school for journalism. Say what you want. I do not like Tucker Carlson. I do not like Megyn Kelly. And they often get and say things wrong that are insane and stupid, but they're journalists. In the same way that Tony DeCopel, I couldn't think of anybody. George Stephanopoulos, Al Roker, those are all journalists. People who have worked in journalism, who've done journalism, and they've worked in it and everything. But when you have these influencers posting on TikTok and they're quoting something from a website that is not even like a real place, it's just so frustrating. I'm trying not to be. There's people I know that are that are trying to be influencers, and they'll quote something that is completely wrong. And it's just so frustrating. I'm like, no, I went to school for journalism. You did not. You just want to be famous. Anyway, I'm done. So Barry Weiss. So CBS's 60 Minutes was all CBS News. 60 Minutes was in trouble because of in short, a Kamala Harris story that Trump and his cronies said was edited. There was a preview that was shown that showed an extended answer from Kamala in which she stammered. When that interview was shown, they took out the stammer because you want to take out ums and uhs and just like very boring language. And then Trump was mad about that. Barry Weiss has been shaking up 60 Minutes and CBS News in general by letting people go and installing her own people. Now, this past Thursday for 60 Minutes, Tanya Simon, aforementioned Tanya Simon, Dragan Mihailovich, and those are two executive producers, and then correspondents Sharon Alfonsi and Cecilia Vega were let go. Cecilia Vega, this comes from Brian Steinberg at Variety, says that she fears for the future of the legendary broadcast. Remember, this news magazine, 60 Minutes, has been around for a very, very long time, and it's a very important part of the news world. Vega said, I have the utmost respect and admiration for my colleagues at 60 Minutes and the stories that air every Sunday, but I very much fear what comes next for and the future of the legendary broadcast. In recent months, my producing teams and I have experienced efforts to insert political bias into our stories. Very true. Reporting teams have held back on submitting story pitches about important news topics out of fear of the internal repercussions. Let's call it what it is, censorship, both imposed and self-driven. It is dangerous for the show and dangerous for democracy. This upheaval of what 60 Minutes is not going unnoticed. Not only by the people that work there, but by others who we'll get to in a second. The turmoil has been bad. People like Bill Owens and Wendy McMahon, who were formerly of CBS News as executive producers and CEOs, respectively. As an executive producer and a CEO, respectively. They both left CBS News last year because they just couldn't take it. We're not gonna take it. Oh, apparently in 2027, the show is slated, I'm just going to dance right past that, to leave its current offices in New York and be housed alongside the rest of CBS News. Interesting. Now, the new boss of CBS's 60 Minutes comes from Brian Steinberg at Variety, is Nick Bilton. What he wants out of the company, out of the program rather, is to stick to digital and mobile screens. Now, in some ways, that is a smart idea. If you'll remember a couple of years ago when Paramount Plus was still CBS All Access, I think, they had a show, they had an extension of 60 Minutes called 60 Minutes Overtime, which was, I think, one or two stories. It was one story. It was one story per episode that were more frequent, and they were shorter than the hour of 60 Minutes that it was. I'm also glossing. I know I realized with the Kamala Harris thing, that was the start of the quote unquote downfall of 60 Minutes. There were a lot of other things that people on the right found issues with. But that was the start of it. I'm just now realizing that there was a whole other thing. But whatever. We all know that was a start. But 60 minutes overtime, like episodes could range anywhere from 10 minutes to 30 minutes, and they would just be different stories that didn't fit into the regular program. And it was great. Because it was a streaming only show, and it was just a way to get more news out there, get more stories out there. Now, in I partially agree with this built-in character, because in order to have 60 Minutes thrive in today's age of multimedia news, there needs to be easier access. And with that, we see companies like, I'm grabbing my phone right now. If you're watching the video, you're going to see me put something up to the camera. But we see companies like the New York Times. Here's the New York Times app. And they have now vertical scrolling video that you can scroll through. There's no algorithm. They create their own. They just have all their videos now shot in vertical for some reason. I don't like it, because I go to the New York Times on I point down my iPad. I go on the website often, and I'm not watching on my phone. I don't watch things on my phone because I'm an adult man. And that's stupid, to sit there, your neck craned down, looking like a damn candy cane. But ESPN also has verts. Disney Plus also has verts. I believe The Athletic, which is a New York Times property, also has vertical videos. NPR has vertical videos. I haven't opened up Wall Street Journal in a minute, but I assume. But everybody has vertical videos, and we can thank TikTok for that. Remember when shooting vertical video was a bad thing? There's still so many YouTube videos on YouTube. YouTube videos on YouTube that are vertical videos. But now everybody, and YouTube has shorts, Instagram has reels. Everybody's doing vertical video. And this is just an extension of where we are in the world. It's just how people get their news. People get their news. They get their news from their phones. It's all vertical video. I call them Democrats. So fucking dumb. He's so stupid. Anyway, but that's how people get their information now. And that's just the way that things are, because a lot of people are looking at their phones. I hate generalizing things. I try not to do that as much. When on Peloton, there are a lot of instructors who just generalize things, and it pisses me off to no end. I'm not on my phone all the time. I'm not sad because I had a baby or whatever. Again, I'm going to get either killed or murdered. It's two different things. Or canceled. And then a lot of news organizations like USA Today, Axios, CNBC. I take that back about Axios. I don't know if what I'm about to say applies to them, but I do know that they do have summaries at the top of articles in lieu of allowing people just to read the article. CNBC and USA Today have AI generated articles that sum up everything. They take the bullet points, the key takeaways. I believe that's what CNBC's actually. Let me just open up a CNBC article, which is something I don't necessarily like. Let me choose something. Here we go. If you're watching the video, you can see this article I pulled up, and you see the key points, rather. That's what it's called. And that's all the information that they want you to know, or that they think that you need to know. Oddly enough, this article's about, ironically enough, this article's about AI. And then here's the whole article, which is, okay and fine and dandy. But if we continue to cater to people's whims like this, then this is the only way that they will get news. This is the only way they'll get videos. Hollywood is making micro dramas, which are shortened shows that air in vertical format. That's not good. I don't like binge watching things. Hulu, I took a survey for Hulu years ago, and because I like taking surveys. And Hulu in their survey said, "Are you somebody who binge watches things?" And then they defined it. Hulu defines binge watching as watching 3 or more episodes. And I went, "No." I watched 2 episodes of Pop Culture Jeopardy today, and I said I'll watch 2 more tomorrow. Nick Bilton was quoted as saying, "The show is on the air one day, one night, 1 hour a week. And to me, there was an incredible opportunity to take the show and do a lot of things with it." I don't think he knows what he's talking about. I believe. Hold on, let me. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. Let's see. Bilton won't be the first to attempt such a feat. Previous producers have tried everything from launching a second weekday edition of the program, 60 Minutes 2, which aired on Wednesdays, then Fridays from 1999 to 2005, which I think is a good idea. But they're busy on Fridays, CBS. They've got Sheriff Country, Fire Country, and Blue Bloods. To a digital version of the series that relied on shorter segments and was built for quick hit platform Quibi. God, I miss Quibi. Do I? That was called 60 and 6. Oh, yeah, I remember that show. And then the Paramount Plus streaming service. I was wrong. It wasn't CBS All Access. It was Paramount Plus. Why didn't those work in the first place? I think for the Paramount Plus one, it's just because nobody knew or had Paramount Plus. And people who did have Paramount Plus weren't watching 60 Minutes overtime. I remember watching, there was like a volcano story that I remember distinctly watching, and some other ones. It doesn't really matter. And in 60 and 6, that's a good idea. Is that 60 and 6? Is that what it's called? That's a good idea, but it's got to be much shorter for these for people who favor these quick hit platforms. Bilton and Weiss met in Los Angeles, where he had begun to work on documentaries and movies after stints at the New York Times and Vanity Fair. His access to Hollywood, he says, started as he began to option stories he wrote for the Condé Nast magazine for film projects. And then the two of them worked on some documentary projects together. During one meeting, says Bilton, quote, Weiss brought up the idea of me potentially coming to run 60. Ugh. But his first reaction was, why give up on movies and TV work? Ultimately, says Bilton, I could not get 60 out of my head. Well, I don't think you know what that means. His vision of the future may not be an understanding of what news is. Yes, he did write for Condé Nast in the New York Times, but he describes, as Alex Weprin writes on The Hollywood Reporter, what he wants to try with 60 Minutes as gonzo journalism. That's his exact words. He wants to try gonzo journalism. He didn't have the desire to come back to journalism. He wanted to tell stories on screen as the next era of his storytelling. That's a direct quote from him. But again, he couldn't stop thinking about it. And then he was hired on May 28th. I just looked at the date. Scrolling through. Bilton was coy about many of his planned changes. He's going to meet with the staff at the show and reconvene in a month or so to lay out his full vision. But the core premise appears built around extending 60 Minutes to the places where consumers primarily get their news. He talks about it being once an hour per week. He has the same quotes. In an exclusive interview with the Hollywood Reporter, he uses the same quotes. Of course, he wants to take it on TikTok or YouTube or Reels. before taking the stories over to Pluto, which is owned by Paramount Skydance, previously owned by CBS, Paramount, and Paramount Plus, and yes, CBS. CBS executives are said to have been pleased with the original idea of 60 Minutes Plus and overtime and all that stuff, which had its own slate of correspondents and covered issues that were seen as more relevant to younger consumers. But it was not renewed, and now one high-level streaming executive explains it bluntly. News programs don't drive serious viewership or engagement in subscription streaming, which is why the social aspect is much better. A much better idea. A much better set of engagement. Much better engagement? Close down and work laptop, baby. Where's this word gonzo coming from? Oh, I hit the wrong thing. Gonzo. You know, Gonzo's one of my favorite Muppets. In response to that Gonzo thing, you can look at his 2021 HBO documentary, Fake Famous, as a possible template, where he took 3 random Angelinos with modest social media followings and tried to turn them into social media influencers by buying followers and clout. But that just seems more like, to me, some sort of stunt for Vice News, as opposed to something that a news magazine that's been around for 50 years should do. I think what we're forgetting, though, is that, yes, 60 Minutes is a staple, but also it is a true to form place for news, especially long form news, which is much more important. In the same way that CBS Sunday Mornings is, in the same way that Face the Nation is, Rachel Maddow's show, PBS NewsHour, they don't just do quick hits. They're digging into the minutia of what the story is. And as I previously mentioned, people are not fond of this, especially former and current workers of CBS News. This comes from a rap written by J.D. Knapp. Dan Rather and dozens more urge David Ellison to protect editorial independence. In the past couple of months, as Barry Weiss has moved her little fingers and done her little Black Widow thing over CBS News, the unrest inside and outside of the company has gotten much more loud. Louder? More vocal. Hey, I went to school for writing. Maybe I'm not as good as a writer as the people at the Free Press. Dan Rather and others, including Lowell Bergman and other journalists, because they're not listing this, wrote in a letter to David Ellison saying, quote, "We, the undersigned, urge you and your management team at CBS News to uphold the principle of editorial independence that has made 60 Minutes, in the words of the show's new executive producer, the most important television journalism brand this country has ever produced. Acquiring CBS News came with a legal requirement to serve the public interest, avoid political interference, and maintain editorial independence. That is the biggest thing that CBS News, Barry Weiss, David Ellison, that everybody should take away from this. CBS News is broadcast news in the same way that ABC News is broadcast news, and NBC and PBS. It's all local, national news for the public. It's free. You get it free over the air. You can plug in an antenna to your TV, and you can watch NBC News, NBC Nightly News, or ABC News Tonight, or CBS News Night. What the fuck is that show called? CBS News. What is that show called? CBS Evening News. right now, or in 30 minutes. Excuse me. It's 6:04. Oh, PBS NewsHour started. Or BBC News America, because that's also on the PBS platform. But this is broadcast news. It's supposed to be free news for everybody. It's supposed to be news that even adults who only have an elementary school education I can understand, excuse me. And with that, it is just like water. Water should be available for everybody. You live in America. We are going for the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And yet it feels like every single day those things are being taken away. And if we have news that the public is supposed to be served with, that it's supposed to be a public service, if we have this news that's being twisted into someone's idea of what news is, then that's no longer a democracy. You no longer have news. You just have a story coming from the people. I'm pointing to camera left, but if you reverse it, I'm pointing to the right. The letter continues, modernizing the show for new audiences and new delivery approaches is important, but not at the cost of editorial integrity. The wholesale dismissal of editorial management without a public pledge to maintain the values, standards, and traditions of this program puts the legacy of 60 Minutes in jeopardy. What is at stake is not just the future of the most important enduring television journalism program in this country, but the future of free and independent press in America. When you put somebody like Barry Weiss, who has never run a company, and you know what, I'm all for bringing in some new blood, but because I would put me in charge of Warner Brothers right now. I swear to God, we'd be the number one company in the world. I'm all for bringing in new blood, but somebody who obviously has an agenda should not be in charge, or somebody who's willing to be bent at the will of others should not be in charge of the company. And that also goes for Mark Thompson at CNN. Letting go of Jim Acosta was a very stupid move. Letting go of Jim Acosta from CNN, yet allowing who's the guy on CNN who's always yelling at people? Scott, what's his name? Let me see. Hold on. CNN Scott Jennings. Ugh. What a fucking turd that guy is. People who signed the letter include Steve Kroft, Betsy West, Lisa Cohen, Bob Orr, Vicky Mabry, Jim Stewart, and Glenn Close. Oh, Alex Gibney. Cool. I had a bigger pop for Alex Gibney. Whoa, Alex Gibney. Oh, gosh. What's just the name you don't see often? The documentarian Alex Gibney? And this other thing I want to point out before I go. This comes from the New York Times, and it's written by Michael M. Grinbaum and Benjamin Mullen. Scott Pelley accuses CBS News boss of murdering 60 Minutes. Scott Pelley, if you'll remember, was a correspondent for CBS News. He's not mincing words when it comes to what he thinks about Barry Weiss. He says that she's murdering the Sunday news program. I called her a fat little cherub multiple times, not just in this episode. He's saying this in reference to what he referred to as those recent firings of Alfonsi and Vega and Simon and other people as Black Thursday. You know, it's again, this built-in guy has never worked in broadcast news. Barry Weiss has never worked in broadcast news. She's never run a company before. a real company, not some donation startup that was the Free Press. Hey, look at that. She turned the Free Press into a real company, though. Pelly warned that the broadcast television industry that incubated 60 Minutes would soon be obsolete, saying, quote, broadcast is an ice cube that is melting, okay? Mr. Bilton said. Oh, that was Mr. Bilton. Excuse me. I attributed it to the wrong person. Perry loves this institution, and she loves 60 Minutes. And then Mr. Pelly says she's murdering 60 Minutes. She does not love this place. She was brought in to kill it, and she's been doing exactly that. He talks about her qualifications and that she has none, and that evening news has been catastrophic as of late. I did see a headline that evening news, for a couple of months, they were not even getting 4 million viewers, and then recently they've gotten past that peak of 4 million viewers, which is good now. But ever since Tony came on, they could not get viewers for the life of them. I don't see what the problem was with Maurice Dubois and John Dickerson. They should have kept the problem is the heads, Weiss and them. They didn't see Dickerson and Dubois as recognizable around the country. If the longer you have them in there, the more recognizable they get. Maurice Dubois was a New York guy on New York local news, and Dickerson was a correspondent. But if you install them as hosts of that show, they will become the names. It doesn't matter who recognizes them. Because at that point, people are going to be watching for them. Let's see, John Dickerson and Maurice Dubois ratings. They were getting. Oh, okay. This comes from TV Insider. Let's look at this. This is from April 2026. Martin Holmes was comparing Tony DeCopel ratings to Dickerson and Dubois. This is new for the both of us, for all of us, the both of us. Yeah, for them being the two people that listen to the show. All right, let's see if there's a chart. Nope, there's no chart. According to Hollywood Reporter, citing Nielsen figures, CBS Evening News has fallen under 4 million views. That's what I said, with a low of 3.5 million the week of March 23rd. You're not comparing Dubois and Dickerson. Oh, they had higher ratings. Okay, so there you go. The conversation between Bilton and Pelly continued. Was this past Monday? Wow. Bilton defended his case, saying that he has no problem taking a job in a place that he's not welcome in. But he continued saying, I don't think that'll be the case. I've been a journalist for 25 years. But that also doesn't mean that you're the right fit. Of course he has his rights to defend himself, but that also doesn't mean that he's the person that should be in that position. Pelly continued. Well, he said Bilton said he cared about it. Pelly said that he doesn't want to be rude. He's not being rude, but he did call Black Thursday rude. Anyway, it just seems like it's a little back and forth, a little squabble. I am concerned about 60 Minutes. I am concerned about CBS News as a whole. I'm concerned about the future of the medium of broadcast news. Because it appears that cable news can only be for the people that watch cable news. So and by saying that, I mean people who watch Fox News are going to believe what they say. People who watch Miss Now are going to believe what they say. And people who watch CNN aren't going to get any news at all. But we have the Young Turks being what happened to them today? Hold on. The Young Turks were barred from somewhere today. Hold on, let me see. They were banned from entering the UK. We also have, oh my gosh, who was the Egyptian John Stewart? What is his name? The Egyptian Bassem Youssef. He's in trouble. Well, I guess I don't know if he's still, but he was still in trouble. He was in trouble in his home country for just doing the news. People are becoming dissidents for just doing their jobs and doing the jobs of the people. And as we continue on, as we march forward in the world of history, I don't know what I'm saying. We're going to become more and more disillusioned by what we see. By viewers and readers are going to become more and more disillusioned by what we see, and it's just going to get worse and worse, and people are going to be more sectioned off. This is why I watch PBS NewsHour and Miss Now and CNN. Although I see one host on a CNN show, and I'm like, oh, you were an asshole to me. I won't say who, but they're still working. Daytime. All right, I'll stop. I'm done. Listen, if you like what you heard here, head to the website cpluscomedy.com, where you can see me talk to famous people. I've got a couple of interviews coming out very, very, very soon. You can watch a video version of those interviews under the interviews, as well as a video version of this podcast, as well as video versions of the other podcasts. Late Night Lately, the Late Night Show. There's a monologue now, and the Constitutionals, the Entertainment Business News Podcast. You can watch all the videos on youtube.com/C+comedy. Subscribe to those shows wherever you get your podcasts. Head to the website, cpluscomedy.com. It's free. Follow us on social media at cpluscomedy on TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, and YouTube. Me on those platforms at Chad Blackwhite. Thank you so much for listening. See you next time. Bye.